For more on this, I'm joined now by South Carolina Republican Congresswoman, a member of the House Oversight and Armed Services Committees, Nancy Mace. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you for having me.
So President Trump fired 17 inspectors general over the course of this weekend. Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican of Iowa, is saying, quote, there may be good reason the IGs were fired. We need to know that if so. I'd like further explanation from President Trump. Regardless, the 30-day detailed notice of removal that the law demands was not provided to Congress. And I want to play key reaction from a Democrat in the Senate.
I'm disappointed in Republicans so far that they haven't spoken out. You know, many of these inspectors general have been very critical of Democratic administrations. They are bipartisan, independent, and we need to preserve that support for them. I challenge my Republican colleagues and the president to reverse this decision.
What's your take on it, Congresswoman?
God bless Donald Trump for shaking up and disrupting the Washington establishment machine. I mean, these are individuals, the IGs, the inspectors general, are supposed to be nonpartisan. They're supposed to be rooting out corruption. And what I found in my first 4 years in office in Congress is they do more cover up than they do anything else. I've had folks from these agencies and the IGs show up without documentation that the Oversight Committee, for example, has asked for. Or when they show up, they don't have the answers. That's not rooting out corruption. That's covering it up. And thank God Donald Trump sees it for what it is and is going to root it out and get new people in place that support his agenda and really, more importantly, support the American people, because that's his America First agenda.
After visiting hurricane-damaged North Carolina and fire-ravaged Los Angeles, President Trump floated the idea of getting rid of FEMA. The mayor of Asheville, North Carolina, a Democrat, doesn't like it. Let's play it.
If you were to instantly make that go away, I think it would be devastating for individuals, for businesses, for cities, for counties, and for the state of North Carolina. You would have to be very thoughtful in terms of how you did that. And I would urge the president not to make any rash decisions around reconstructing FEMA right now, as we're in the middle of recovering from this disaster.
You obviously get hurricanes in South Carolina. Are you ready to scrap FEMA?
Oh, absolutely. And look, you saw Donald Trump show up to North Carolina over the last couple of days and see the devastation that North Carolina residents continue to live in, the squalor, the tents, the RVs, the homeless, those that can't afford to pay for a hotel. What has FEMA done other than house criminal illegal aliens? They had $1.45 billion they sent to house illegals. And that money could have been used in cities in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, those that were hardest hit. And look, I think if we block grant emergency resource funds to states, put governors in charge, maybe Gavin Newsom in California would get back to work for the people of California.
All right. Tomorrow, House Republicans gather in South Florida for a retreat to talk about advancing the Trump agenda. What are your expectations, Congresswoman?
Well, a better understanding of how we're going to implement his agenda through Congress, because there will be roadblocks by some Republicans and a lot of Democrats that will try to stop President Trump's agenda. So how can we leapfrog over those hurdles that we will see? And also, what's the priority, and in what ways are we going to reduce taxes and keep those tax cuts permanent? How quickly are we going to deport millions of illegal aliens? How are we going to protect women? All those things that Trump promised on the campaign trail, and he's keeping those promises. He did more in his first 4 days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. And how can we help him?
Finally, let's talk about your future. How seriously are you considering a run for governor of South Carolina?
Very seriously. And for me, this is not political. This is deeply personal. I have experience in the state legislature and also now at the federal level in Congress. And I see how broken the system is. We have a conservative state that it's difficult to afford to live in because state taxes are too high. We need people who will implement Trump's agenda from the state level on down. And that takes bold leadership. It takes grit. It takes strength. It takes hard work. And there are very few people now that are talking about doing this and being able to do this at the state level. We have great governors. Look at Governor Abbott in Texas, Governor DeSantis in Florida. But those are few and far between. We need more leaders that believe in President Trump, his agenda, and will implement it from the state level on down.
Well, if you want to break the news, give me a call. Congresswoman Nancy Mace of the great state of South Carolina, thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.